And welcome to our September edition of Sports Highlights on the Road. Greg Bicoveris, glad you're with us here from beautiful Warwick High School. Sports Highlights runs on 7 a.m., 2 p.m., and 7 p.m. on Mondays and weekends at 9 a.m. Here on the road, and our special featured guest for the first segment is Chris Moore, who went to Warwick High School, graduate of 2007, and of course we're right here on the Ben O. Moore Jr. Court. Let's tell us what the O stands for.
And that's the middle name that he never liked to say too much, but I used to let him know there's nothing wrong with that O, but it's still for Oliver.
Oh, I love it, Oliver. Well, good to see you. And,
Thank you.
And I'm sure you're, first of all, proud as a proud graduate of Warwick High School,
Yes.
and also proud of what your dad accomplished, not only at Warwick High School, but at Denby, Menchville, and Virginia Wesleyan.
Yes. I'm super excited. I always told him, that I was going to make this happen for him if I had a chance to. And I remember telling him that in 2012, and so to see it actually come to light has been truly an honor.
You talk about your dad's career. I mean, he started off at Denby with Coach Katufis, and those games were events. I mean, he would play Ferguson and George Walters, Menchville, Pop Pitts. I mean, those were always big-time events when he was an assistant.
Yep. He had some good stories, and sometimes I try to look back and find some of those tapes to kind of see, how things were. I actually was watching a couple games, even when Gideon Moore and those guys were playing in the 90s, and it was good seeing him. And actually, he was interviewing with you after the game. They had some really good games back then.
Yeah, definitely. And he would take on, it was ironic, when he was at Denby, he would take on Jim Harvey, who was his predecessor before your dad took over. And those events were really good when Denby played Warwick, were really good matchups.
Yeah. The history of Warwick in that time was tremendous. As we said, Anthony Solomon and those guys that got to play back then, it was a tradition of winning. And my dad was able to come here and get a couple wins and actually got a Peninsula District championship on his belt from that team.
He definitely sustained. When you think of Ben Moore, he always had a smile on his face. He sustained. He was full of energy, full of life. He lit up a room. I know you also like Chinese food, because I used to see him getting Chinese sometimes too. And he used to go to the post office a lot, the old post office. But when you think about your dad's legacy, what do you think of?
I just think about dedication. Anybody that puts forth that much effort into impacting the community, a lot of people don't even realize he's not even from Newport News, Virginia. He's from New York. And so for him to come here and have that much impact in his time from the start, he got here in 81. And for him to have that much impact from 81 until he took his last breath in 2017, it's just been tremendous. And so I was thinking about the dedication that he had to the community, to his players, to the school. Me and my mom were just laughing because his classroom never changed. He always had the same things up every year. He was here all day, every day. All summer, all throughout the night, and so just the dedication that he had to this entire program.
And not to mention the summer camps he worked too, right? He liked those summer camps.
Those summer camps, fall leagues, him coaching with Boo Williams and those guys. I think he was dedicated to just the entire community and the basketball community as well.
Right. We're talking to Chris Moore. He's the athletic director of Virginia Peninsula Community College, formerly Thomas Nelson. How is that going?
It's been rewarding, I will say. When I started, the first thing they did was give me, some things that needed to get done. And they gave me a lot. They gave me a chance to use my vision. And I just thank Dr. Brannon and Dr. Hollins and the entire cabinet for allowing me the opportunity to lead this program in the right direction. We did just get some funding, and now we're going to expand this program. And I'm just honored that they trusted me to do that.
Talk about the sports at VPCC.
So we've had men's basketball since 1969. A lot of people didn't know that men's basketball was there, but had men's basketball. Women's basketball came in the 80s, and then actually adding baseball in 2012. And so now we're expanding. We're adding softball, volleyball, and we're looking to add 4 more sports in time to come. It's been a task, just getting coaches in and getting the right people that fit the vision of the school. Once it's complete, give me about 3 years, and I think it's going to be something that a lot of people are going to really enjoy watching over time to come.
How many titles do you have currently?
Currently, I serve as the athletic director and the head men's basketball coach currently.
That's double duty right there. Talking to Chris Moore, he's the son of the late Ben Moore, and Ben also was an athletic director briefly too, but his love was coaching.
His love was coaching. He had that 1-year stint,
right?
And Dr. Ford took over that year. Well, he was Coach Ford at the time, and Dr. Ford took over that 1 year, and they had a pretty good year. And then, just his gratitude to allow my dad to jump back into that seat and taking over for the rest of those years. Just a tremendous relationship that they had.
Yeah, we've been doing the basketball games since the 90s as well. And the game when he came back as the coach of Menchville here was the most electrifying high school basketball game we ever did on TV.
Yep. He enjoyed coaching against Menchville and coaching against Ward.
Yeah.
I didn't know that he was going to make a trip back after he went to Wesleyan, but when he told me that he wanted to do it, it was a no-brainer for me to actually be on his staff at Menchville that year.
That was in his heart.
Yeah.
The high school was his heart, definitely,
Yeah.
and he sustained for decades.
Yeah.
What is the biggest branding challenge that you're going to have as the athletic director and letting people know in this digital world we live in?
I think it's just I think the community is backing us now. I think the biggest branding challenge is now getting the nation to actually recognize us as being who we are. Virginia Peninsula Community College has great academic programs. I tell recruits all the time, this school is top tier academically. Now we have to just meet it athletically and make sure that the entire nation backs us in that realm. And I keep saying, I'm all about championships, but also graduation. And so getting these student athletes to not only graduate, but receive, some accolades for winning and doing the things that they do well. This area is known for athletics all across. I don't think there's one sport that I think we lack in Hampton Roads. And so I know that we can get it done with just utilizing the talent that we have in our backyard.
It's funny you said that because when we grew up, it was the 804 area code. And then they branded themselves as 757, but you really can't do that anymore now because it's now a 948 area code as well. So the Seven Cities thing is different now because of the branding. But, the thing is, Thomas Nelson, like you said, is an outstanding academic institution. You can get a 2-year degree and then go on to a Division I college if you want.
Yep. You can go wherever you would like to. And the great thing about Virginia Peninsula is, all of the credits transfer to whatever school you want to go to. I've had the privilege of helping. In my 3 seasons, I've had 9 guys go on to play at 4-year schools from us. And baseball just had a few guys that are going to a few different places as well. And so watching these young student athletes transition to their next place of academics and just their athletic journey, and watching them succeed is just super exciting, and just it makes you want to continue doing more and keep helping more young men.
Talk about
ladies.
your schedule and some of the teams you play.
So some of the teams that we do play, I think my favorite rivalry would have to be the Apprentice School right now. I think that's on both sides of the ball, baseball, basketball. We really enjoy playing these schools that are right here in our backyard. Bryan and Stratton is always a good one. We do play Richard Bland and some different schools that are, just in the state of Virginia. As you know, we are in the VCCS, which is the Virginia Community College System, and so we do get to play a lot of those schools that are in that system. But we also expand and play in that Region 10 for the NJCAA, which consists of schools down in North Carolina, Georgia, and a lot in the state of Virginia.
Now, as far as recruiting and some of your roster, is it mostly guys from this area?
So majority of the men's basketball team is from this area, from the 7 cities, a little bit outside in 804. I have had some guys who have come from some different places. I had a young man this past year who actually he actually drove 2 hours a day to get to practice in school. And he was from Stafford, Virginia. Our baseball team, they got a lot of guys from out of state. And so I know softball and volleyball, a lot of the young ladies that are coming are from within this area. But, once the coaches get in place, they're going to definitely go out and recruit outside the state as well.
We're talking to Chris Moore. He's the athletic director and head men's basketball coach at Virginia Peninsula Community College. For those of you that don't know that, they used to be called Thomas Nelson. Landmark school, landmark location, right in Hampton, very visible for both sides of the water.
Yeah, it's very visible. It's right there on 64, Interstate 64. So you can always see it when you're coming across that highway. And also, people don't know we also have that historic Triangle campus over there in Williamsburg, and we also have the Southeast campus, which is downtown in that Southeast community.
And that's important for, in Williamsburg you mentioned too, that for the kids that live there, they can go to school right across the street, basically.
Yep. It's right there by Ward Hill High School, and that Southeast campus is right there next door to Heritage and Achievable Dream. And so we're spread out, and we're looking to really be able to engage those students in those different parts of this area, so that we can continue expanding our school.
Now, a big challenge, of course, back when your dad was coaching at Denby as an assistant, Anthony Solomon, who's now an assistant at Notre Dame, who played for Virginia, would go down and start his day at 5 in the morning shooting baskets. And somebody without even telling him what to do.
Right.
Today's kids, a lot of them love their phone. How do you motivate them to put the phone down and to focus on basketball?
Well, one thing I let students know is, especially I'll speak from basketball, of course, I always like to hold the ball high, and I let it bounce. And as the ball bounces, it eventually is going to stop, and so you can spend a lot of your time utilizing that phone, or you can actually utilize a lot of your time trying to make sure that ball bounces as long as it possibly can. And so being able to watch these young men and let them know, I guess with my experiences, I've worked with a lot of different pros and guys all around the country, from Mark Williams, who is now playing for the Charlotte Hornets, Cam Thomas, who's playing with the Brooklyn Nets, Isaiah Todd, who plays with the Washington Wizards. I let them know those guys put in work in that gym. They weren't guys that were always on their phone. They're guys that were actually putting in work day in and day out. They slept in the gym. And so if you want to be the best player that you could possibly be, then you got to actually put forth the effort, and it's not going to be playing 2K or on Instagram.
Or being a gamer, right, of course. But physical and mental health both are equally important.
Yes, very much so. And as you know, right now, sports psychology has been something that has been invested in now all around the country. And so I know that is a career that's expanding, because our student athletes and professional athletes do need that mental health piece added as well.
All right, leave us with a last note about your dad, about a game or something that sticks out.
A story about him in a game. I would probably say my favorite memory is probably, I always attest to him, those games that we had against Heritage. Being a Warwick alumni, those Warwick and Heritage battles with him and Coach Katufis, they were magical. I'll speak to the one that was right here on this court. They went 3 overtimes. This was 2002, 2003 season. Coach Katufis versus Coach Ben Moore. You had Brian Graves and on Heritage's side, and all of those guys. You had Patrick Glenn, Colin Hunt, and those guys on the Ward side. And it went 3 overtimes, and it was just magical to see this place, standing room only. Both of those coaches who are coaching legends and coaching greats, going at it. And then just the love that was shared after that game was just magical. And they were both number 1 and number 2 in the state at the time. And so that was probably my number 1 memory, I could say, that I just, when I think of this court, I think of that game.
And I'm going to think of your dad going against George Walters or Ferguson. I'm sorry, Warwick-Ferguson was the elite battle, but also Warwick versus Denby. When Coach K was at Denby, your dad started coaching at Warwick. All right, Chris, all the best. All the best to you at Virginia Peninsula Community College.
Thank you.
All right, Chris Moore right there, our first guest. He's the athletic director and head men's basketball coach. All the best to him and his team as they evolve in the school year. Stay tuned.
You're watching NNPS TV. Catch sports Highlights on Mondays at 7, 2, and 7, and on Saturdays and Sundays at 9 a.m. Visit us online at nnpstv.com to view all your favorite episodes. NNPS TV, watching education happen.
And welcome to our second interview of Sports Highlights on the Road, our September back-to-school edition. Hope you enjoyed the first interview with Chris Moore. We're at Hampton High School here in Hampton, Virginia. Well, folks, since the early 60s, Mike Smith was an assistant football coach here, head football coach from 1971 to 2021. He did finally retire and call it quits after a great career in several state championships, and now the brand new head football coach of Hampton High School in 2022 is Woodrow Wilson, a Hampton graduate, and he went to North Carolina State. Good to see you.
Thank you, sir. Glad to see you. When
you played football, it was a great time. In 74, Bethel won the state championship. 75 and 77, Hampton won. 76, Bethel won. But what a great time you were in school.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I mean, the competition was stiff. I mean, every week you had to prepare. There was pretty good teams. At that time, Belfort, Ferguson, my sophomore year, and Lafayette, they was the cream of the crop. We lost to all three of them. We finished 6-3-1, tied Menchville. Then the next year, we went 8-2.
That was hardcore back then, Coach, because you didn't get a whole lot of water breaks and stuff like that. You had to earn everything.
Yes, sir. Like right now, I'm not complaining or anything like that. Times are different. You got to adjust with the times. Back then, was no such thing as a heat index. Basically, we didn't have no coolers with ice. We had like a water hose right there, back there about 20 feet, and we had to turn on the speaker, hold the hose, and it wasn't very, very, very refreshing.
All right, well, that's it. Woodrow Wilson right here, the head football coach at Hampton High School. You coached some great coaches, too, like the late Danny Mitchell and Alvis Mann. What did you learn the most from Coach Smith? I'm sure you could write a book just on the bus trips and the conversations before and after the game, watching film. What a legacy that was.
Yes, sir. You know, I came over here in '88 with Coach Smith. They had a pretty good team that year also. Basically, what I learned from Coach that year, pay attention to detail, discipline, never leave anything unturned, and basically that year also, like I said, they had a pretty good football team in '88, and they beat Robinson 28-25 for the state championship that year.
Yeah, the late Hunter was the quarterback for Hampton then. He went to Purdue and let his memory be eternal, but he was an excellent quarterback.
Oh, no doubt about it. I knew I might get in a little trouble for making this statement, but I stand by. I'm not saying he was a better athlete than Ronald, Tyrod Taylor, but as far as a pure passer, oh yes, he the best I think ever came out here as far as throwing the football.
And Hampton's always had great quarterbacks, as we said on TV, with Stacy, with Hunter, with Curry, with Tyrod Taylor, with a lot of those guys. So really the legacy, and one thing about Coach Smith, by the time y'all got on the practice field, you and the assistant coaches, everything was organized the way you came on the field, way the quarterbacks threw. Everybody knew their place.
Oh, absolutely, sir. Basically, when we first came on, it was offensive day. Quarterback was warm up. Basically, I would work with the wide receiver if it was offense. Basically, hand placement, how to run routes, how to block, things of that nature.
How about the transition? It wasn't really difficult for the players as much because you've been here all along anyway, so it wasn't like you started anew. But do you have any new assistant coaches?
Yes, I have basically a couple of assistant coaches. They BB, we call him BB, but his real name is Khalil Gunn. He played for us back in, I think he graduated in 2020, so he's kind of young. He's learning on the go. Then we got a couple of guys that Coach Trigger knew, McGlone. He been the head of the JV for probably about 13 years. He gonna move up to the varsity. And Khalil Gunn, he would take over as far as being the JV coach.
Very good. Talking to Woodrow Wilson, brand new head football coach at Hampton High School, but no stranger here. This is where he practiced at. This is where the JV plays at. He also went to North Carolina State in the ACC, and back then, you and North Carolina were always great rivalries, and Clemson too.
Yes, sir. Matter of fact, we split with both of those teams. My freshman year, we won 3, lost 8, but we beat Carolina that year at Carolina, and it just seemed like it flip-flopped. When they came to our place, they beat us. When we went to their place, we beat them. Same thing with Clemson. Clemson had an outstanding team my sophomore year. They put a whooping on us at Carter Finley Stadium in Raleigh, North Carolina. I think they beat us 31-10. I think they finished like number 6 in the country that year. So basically, those was some pretty good heated battles back then. And probably my best year was my senior year when we won the ACC championship.
Now, how about against Virginia? You had no trouble with them, right?
Yeah, we beat Virginia, sad to say, all 4 years that I was there.
Yeah. What are your thoughts about this whole name, image, likeness, and how has recruiting changed from the time you went to NC State to now? It seems like they'll find a way to find anybody.
Well, back then, right when I went in North Carolina State back in '76, they used to get $15 allowance for to do the laundry. They took that away. So basically, we couldn't work while we was on scholarship, even after the season was over. All that stuff have changed now. Like you said, they can get paid for doing commercials. They can get paid for any little things that they do now. The NCAA have approved that. So like I said, you just got to deal with the different times.
A great mix of both high school and college experiences, Woodrow Wilson. And going back to high school, when you were playing, Coach Kaz and Coach Smith had a great 25-year battle. Both were assistants. That was always an event. Channel 13 did one of your games in high school. But you also had good rivalries, like you said, against Lafayette, against Kecoughtan, against Menchville, Ferguson, and Warwick. And when you were coaching, and playing as well, you've seen a lot of different coaches come along the way. But when you were playing for Hampton, the late Thad Madden was at Warwick, and those were always fun games too.
Yes, sir. Back when I was a little kid, I lived in Newport News off of Jefferson Avenue, and basically I would go to the Huntington game, Huntington when they played Carver, Huntington when they played Phoenix, Huntington when they played IC Norcom, and I got a good feel for that atmosphere. And then when I came to Hampton High School, Coach Madden, they closed down Huntington, I think it was 71 or 72. He became the head football coach at Ward. And when we played Ward, I had a little problem playing against him because I did always wanted to go when I was in living in Newport News to Huntington.
Yeah, what a great man. He was the coach of Warwick from 71 to up until 1980, and what a gentleman he was, too. So as far as summer camp's concerned, who's emerging as your leader? What are you getting out of summer camp?
Well, right now, the kids are working very hard, extremely hard. I can appreciate that. They're showing the will to win, not the will to prepare to win. So basically, some of my leaders right now, Jamar Lumpkin, he's a sophomore. A junior. He'll be a rising junior. He gonna play safety for us. He gonna play a little quarterback, play a little wide receiver. Raekwon Smith, he gonna play probably our leading tailback to start the season off. Tough as nail. He gonna be also an inside linebacker. We got a young man that just came out named Sean Williams. He on the basketball team. He started last year for Hampton High basketball team. He gonna basically be one of our slots, one of our defensive end, and maybe a little fullback.
Yeah, that's a really good mix right there. And Hampton's always had great teams, won a lot of state championships, but it doesn't start with just a state championship. It starts in practice. It's the little things that make you win on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Absolutely. If you're not able to tackle, you're not able to block, you minimize your mistakes, usually the outcome is pretty good. If you don't minimize your mistakes, then the outcome most of the time is not good.
I always tell people this: consistency, honesty, loyalty, transparency, and being you. If a kid can do that, boy, you've got it made.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing I learned from Coach Smith. Have your kids to the point where when you ask them a question, they tell you the truth. Like I said, the discipline early in the year, as far as knowing how to do things, when to do things, why we do things, and buying into what you're trying to accomplish.
Talking to Woodrow Wilson, your final few moments right here at Hampton High School. Sports highlights on the road, along with Ray Price, as well as our director too. And you talk about this year. What do you expect, Coach? I mean, you got a brand new coach at Bethel. You're brand new technically at Hampton, although you've been here for decades, since the 70s. And also, Phoebus is going to be tough.
Oh, absolutely. I know the road going to be tough. We had to replace basically about everybody. The only person we really had that saw a substantial amount of time was our quarterback, but he got hurt during the off season. He probably won't be ready for the first 3 or 4 games. So, like I said, the competition gonna be stern. Like you said, Phoebus, they are reigning the Division III state championship. Ward gonna be pretty tough. Belfast should be tough. Definitely Woodside, they tough every year. So, like I said, you got to go into every game, prepare, and be ready to take the challenge on.
And you know that too from being an assistant all these years. If you're going to catch Hampton back in the day, you catch them that early game, that first or second game. Then after that, Coach Smith would catch up to you, and I'm sure you learned from that as well. Don't take Gloucester for granted.
Oh, absolutely. You can't take any team for granted, because any team on any given night can beat you. So if you don't come in focused and ready to go from the start of the game, the outcome may not be good.
A lot of your best players in the years past would play varsity as freshmen. What about this year?
Right now we got 2 freshmen starting. One on the offensive line, one on the defense side of the ball. Basically, we're gonna be young this year. We got basically about 5 seniors, the rest juniors, sophomore, freshmen. So the younger kids, they look really good. We got some 8th graders that probably could help us right now, but way the rules set up, 8th graders can't play varsity.
And here's how it works too. Varsity, you can play from the 9th to the 12th grade. Of course, some can play JV up until the 10th. But one thing that Coach Smith and Coach Kaz and even Coach Woodrow Wilson have always done, you pick the best players to play no matter what you're in. And of course, they got 4 years to mature as adults.
That's absolutely correct. If a 9th grader show you the ability, the way he can handle things, and be prepared every day when he come to practice, be prepared in the game. There's no reason why, if he show you that he deserved the position, whether the offensive lineman, defensive lineman, whatever it may be, a skilled person, then he should be given that opportunity to play.
But it's putting that C captain on the jersey is a big deal. And one thing about Hampton, they're going to wear white and white, white and red. Sometimes they mix a little black in there too. But those uniforms are important, just like they were at NC State.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like you said, your captain is dedicated based on what they do on the football field, what they do in the classroom, and in the community. So that's what we try to instill, and then we put those people out front to lead, because you can't lead if you don't set the example yourself.
Right. Takes a whole village to get it done, and good luck to Coach Wilson and his team for 2022. Coach, all the best.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks for his time, his talent, and his treasure right there. All right, sports highlights on the road, concluding here in our September edition, right here from beautiful Hampton High School, same place where Coach Wilson played when he was in school, right here on this field. So for Ray Price, I'm Greg Bicaveras, back to school in September, and we'll talk to you soon.